Barak, the riches of Yah rests upon Be'et YisraYah'ale, live tonight. Dawid, YisraYah'ale. I want to first of all apologize to you all because the information that I do research, I made a mistake not getting everything over to the broadcast room for everything to be put up as I read from that information. But I promise you that we will put this up tonight, no later than tomorrow, and we will post it so you can utilize this in your research and your study. Let me say this to the nation. There is nearly 1 million pages or writings on the Pacific of this year, the Jewish year, what determines it, how it is determined, with a preponderance of evidence. It amazes me that it is quite difficult for them to understand, to read, and to examine material. You got scholars of all kinds, and most of the people, the writings I use, it is written by who we call Jewish people. They're not written by men of my hue, but by white Jewish people. Scholarship from the most prestigious universities. I do use Wikipedia because Wikipedia is an encyclopedia that scholars of every kind write and post. I don't know how their vetting goes, but you can always report to Wikipedia something that is out of the norm. It is no different than Britannical or any other form of encyclopedia, form of information. I find it to be thoroughly, as I examine that against other writings of some of the most prestigious universities in the world, and see that there is none that disagree that there must be an intercalating or an intercalary of 1/13th month every third year. I want to begin this. It is an article by, it is from Roman PDF, BIUACIL. That is the website. I want to interpose here. The title of this is Jewish Calendar in the Roman Period in Search of a Viable Calendar System. This is by Ari Belinsky in the Mathematical Department of Bar-Ilan University, Israel, introduced the calendar system which the Jews use now, was known to Babylonians at least at the end of the 4th century. So there is nothing truly new in the world. They have galvanized around this concept of what they believe, those that identify with Judaism, and they speak of this before the common era. It says this allows Jewish apologetics, and that is one that speaks or writes in defense of something, someone, or a thing that they try to perpetrate, in the sense that they want this to be known, whether it is popular, unpopular, whether it is criticism. But those, or this writing comes from the university there in Israel, the slither of land they call Israel. That's where this comes from. You can find this by searching the web. But we are a people, all of us, it makes no difference your color or hue of your skin. We're somewhat of a lazy people. We're quite lazy. It is factual. We don't like to exercise our brains. And when you see the preponderance of evidence and you reject that, there is something sickly about you. One said to me one day, well, quote, Yah talks to me. Well, what voice does he talk to you in? Is it as a thundering voice that caused you to shake? I would believe if Yah talked to me. He has never. That's what the Pentecostals would say and the Baptists would say and all of that. I talk, quote, I talked to the Lord God, unquote. He has never talked to me, but in one form that is the witness of the power of his truth that he makes known through the pages and the chronicle of Torah. He speaks. Does he speak in a woman's voice? Your daughters that say that he speaks to you, is it a feminine voice? You men, is it a voice that is robust and great and powerful that it calls you to shake? Or is it your voice? And if it's your voice, it is your voice speaking. It is not the voice of Yah. Yah is not talking by no voice. He speaks to us by the power of this living Torah. Nothing else, my friend. We have learned that from the corruption of the seed that was set forth, especially people like me, of my hue. Quote, oh, the Lord God said to me, I have never done that because I've never heard his voice. I've heard the still quiet voice of YHWH speak to me through the examination of Torah and allowing it to examine my life. He is not talking to men. We are the just of Yah, and we walk by Imona. What I read, it speaks to me with volume. And if I hear a voice, it has to be my voice, because I have to interpret that in the language of my own ability to hear, perceive, and I hear my voice speaking. It is not of Yah. It isn't. We're talking about this system that is so corrupt. It is a Babylonian. And those that identify with Jewishism, they still use it. And those that are the apologists, they defend it. I will not defend a lie that created an ignorance in me. Well, you said you were ignorant. I was. Because I didn't understand the facets of this. And this is how you do it. And those that I trusted, I bought into that. And then when I began to examine the criteria, I realized it's a lie. You cannot celebrate the Mo'adim of Yah with lies. Every 11 years every year it goes back 11 days. You can only return to that time in 33 years. Or does that ring a bell? YHWH HaMashiach laying down his life, 33. It's amazing. I will teach on that in the future. It says this allows ancient Jewish system. It was copied by the Chaldeans after the conquest of Yehuda in the 6th century before the Common Era. Even so, after the second national catastrophe in 70 BCE, before the Common Era, we see a remarkable break with tradition. That is when tradition broke. He gave us the power to observe the sun, the moon. Just the moon, where the signs of all the feast days come, as Barak says. You don't get them from nowhere else. And there is no way from last year, your 2022, 2023 feast days, from 2022, there were 354 days. This year, it will be 383 days. So what is a year with Yah? You keep it 2 years at 353, 354, and then the next one, it is either 383, 384, or 385. They intercalate a whole year. America, they intercalate they intercalate a day or whatever they do, and this deception of calendars. So this was the time that they broke from the with their tradition. Listen to this quote. Jewish leaders rely on immediately observation of the new moon to fix the first day of the month. I spoke to one day and I said, my friend, all I ask you to do is help me. Explain to me, how do you get a 13th month? Because I follow the same procedure. Until my heart began to be troubled. And I knew that there were not many I could speak to. Even those that were with me, they said, Riak, I didn't understand what you were doing. I said, man, what are you doing, man? Because I did not want the separation. I love fellowship. I love the Mo'adim feast and eating. I love cooking during the years, jerk chicken. Those from the islands would come, and I would love preparing traditional food, and they would always say to me, your jerk chicken, man, is better than that of the islands. Riak, what you do? Because I have my own recipe that I make up for jerk chicken and put it on the grill, and when it comes out, the flavor on your palate, you can't even identify them because I use some of everything. I want to proceed now. Jewish leaders rely on immediately observation of the new moon to fix the first day of the month. I buy that. You cannot have a first day of Yah's month without the slither, the Chodesh. The beginning or the month or the monthly, the first day. It must be the Chodesh. You must identify the moon. And we've been here, I have for 28 years in a few days this month. It is one of the first things that we would do here. Look at the moon and look at the heavens above. We had stars then. We have no stars now. It was not polluted like it is now, the heavens above. And now we have a more sophisticated way. We have calendars, we have programs on our telephones. We watch for the moon when it doesn't. We watch the growth, and we will know that that day, by the observation, was the first day of the observation, what was granted unto us by Yah. It says this, we're going to get all this information up to you. We will get it all up. I'm very apologetic for that. It's my shiftless, lazy ways. I've been in the greenhouse this morning, doing all kinds of things, taking care of the bus, trying to get things resolved, and studying and laboring in this book. It says this. This is what it says. It talks about the first day of the month and the ripeness of the fruit to intercalate an additional month. That's how you got your 383 days from last year to this year. If you don't believe me, count it. That's why I tell people there's a website I use. It has all kinds of information. It is called Times and Dates. It has some of the most informative information. You can put in the date of your last feast day in 2023 and put it in this year. And you will get nothing less than 283 through 84 through 85. This is something that is so, it's not marvelous as the sense of, it's bewildering that every pagan season for the world, the signs, their Christmas makes no difference what day it's on, but they celebrate it at that time. And the Easters and all that. And this is what this calendar that you're using, it follows the same prescription. It follows the same prescription. I must prove all things. Let me move on. That is the first day of the month, the ripeness of fruit to intercalate addition a month in the lunar calendar rather than mathematically. There is no sign that the astronomical achievement of ancient Greece and Babel were used by, quote, Jews, unquote, in the first 5 centuries of the Christian era. There was no even altering or changing the times of Yah. And we have very unskilled men, like I was. Very unskilled. I had no one to really teach me. I didn't find out the name. It was 40 years ago, but I knew the name, but what did it mean to me? I was brought up under the tradition religious form, the Lord God Jesus Christ. And I just one day start preaching in his name here. And there were many that turned against me. They turned away from me. And these were the consequences. So it was when I began to show us that these are lies that your leaders are telling you. I will sit down with any man. I would debate any man. He bring his material and show me how you get a 13th month. And it's always that same time you call Aviv. And you celebrate it then. Show me. Show me. I will not dishonor you. But I will show you that that subscription is wrong. It's evil. And once you come to this knowledge, you must change. A woe unto you. It says this, there are no signs, none, nation, that the astronomical achievement of the ancient Greece and Babel were used by Jews in the first 5 centuries of the Christian era. They didn't use it. And so they wanted to be just like everyone else. That of the Hebrew true identity of the elect of Yah's seed. Well, I know this may be offensive to some, but I really don't care. You know, the people of my hue in our days, I was born in the Jim Crow era, time of slavery. You didn't say anything to the white man that upset him, period. And you had to be very, very careful. I was born in that. Our segregated little black schools, we had teachers that love to teach how to speak well. You're going among Caucasians, and they will look at you as though that you're not facilitated with the same kind of skill set that they have. They wanted to send me to a school of children with special ability and talents. Boy, his mother could not even afford clothing for him. There is no way, even at that young age, I was not going to embarrass myself in that kind of circumstance. They taught us. They taught us with love. They didn't make money. But they taught us that we will be proven and tried, that we will excel their learnings. That's what they taught us. No place found. There's no preponderance of evidence. Your mother, your father, your kinfolks, they were trained by the same tradition as everyone has been trained. And they know that we are that ignorant that there will be no questions. We will not question the authority or their skill in this matter. I do. I'm getting older every day. My years on this earth, or the veracity of my strength, it's abating. I don't have it like I used to. I don't. I could do 1,000 sit-ups every day. I would do 1,000. Medicine ball on my chest, 5 or 10 pounds, I would rock out 1,000. I would do that every day. You think I can do that now? I probably couldn't rest tonight if I did that. Moving on quickly. Now, this is what the university there in Israel, it is called Barak University. The modern Jewish calendar has a 19 16-year intercalation cycle with intercalary years. The 3rd year, the 6th year, the 8th year, the 11th year, the 14th year, the 17th year, and the 19th year, consistent, quote, of 13 months. You keep it 2 years this way, 353, 354, excuse me, nation, and then the next year you're going to keep it 383 or 384, 385. It is an intercalary. You cannot get back there. It's going to recede 11 days every year. And after 33 years, your children will come to that same place as Yahshua HaMashiach. Period. The calendar month, a distance between two consecutive mulada, is accepted to the equal to the, this is what it means now, to the mean lunar month, found by Ptolemy, 29 date, 12 hours, 44 minutes, 3.5 seconds. To compute this time of the coming of Rosh Hashanah, one has to find the mulad, the season, the time of the previous Rosh Hashanah, and add 12 calendar months if the year is regular, or 13th month in the year of the intercalary. Where is that in Torah? And people don't want to discuss that because they don't want to look as though that they've been deceived. I deceive my own self. How does a fat man, one that is overweight like me, looks in the mirror, sees the deformity of his shape, and say, man, I'm fine. Stop it. Same thing with a woman. We can look at the mirror, we're looking at no one but ourselves. And their high praises for myself. My praises for me is that you're a rebellious, wicked man. You're violently evil, sadistically wrong. And I conclude that with one thing to Yah, above all things, don't let that be in my heart. I don't care what comes and tries to destroy me. Don't let it begin to permeate in my mind. And there's growth of evil. I don't address myself as some fine man, knowledgeable man. I'm as ignorant as any man. And the way I've understood things, a process of learning and research. You go on your feelings, my friend, will get you nowhere. You can say what you will or you may. There is an intercalary of the 13th month every 2 to 3 years. And that's how you get back to that time. But there's another component to that too. We're going to discuss that tonight, or if not the next time I come. But I'm going to make sure that everything that I had for tonight will be put up on the website at Marcos, and they will do that and make sure it's done. It says the result should be divided by 7. The remainder, after the discarding of minutes and seconds, will show that the day coming, Rosh Hashanah. He did not make Rosh Hashanah that difficult, or Pesach. He gave us the moon as the sign. And count from that moment. Be abreast and aware. We have technology in this hour to facilitate us. What's wrong with using it? I find it. I buy the same calendar every year. I've already ordered some for our Zachem, myself, and to place them in our facilities. And I found no calendar, not Farmer's Almanac. I have searched so many calendars. This is the only one. It is called a lunar calendar. And this, I say it this way, quote, this is a bad boy, unquote. Because I've never found the dates that it says when it shows me the new month, new moon, is always on time. It has never failed me over these years. It has never. Period. The minutes and seconds are also important. They imply 4 rules of the postponing Rosh Hashanah by 1 day to 2. These 4 rules are, however, unrelated to the calendar's core and are beyond the scope of this paper. What is he saying? Well, I can't explain it. I have no ability to explain it because it's beyond the scope of what I'm trying. This is a university. This is a university. Professors, scholars, important scholars to come speak on this one subject. That's a fact, my friend. We need scholarship among us. We have turned in some of the most weakly crying individuals. I am a man. That's what I am, not because of some physical ability. I'm a man. I'm made in that image. I don't care what the battles, Joshua had the battle. If it's thy will, take this cup of death from me. And then he said, nevertheless, not my will, but thine will be done. Your arrogance, your pride, and you say, I will not listen to that man. Challenge me then. I will prove you wrong. Challenge me, and I will prove you wrong. You must listen. I will listen. I tell you what, we'll each take 5 minutes. You go 5, I go 5. You go 5, I go 5. And I will debate any man, your scholars of scholarship, your Jewish scholars, you Hebrew Israelites. I will debate any of you on this subject or any subject. I want to read this. This is by Menachem Posner. We're going to post all this. I am very apologetic. I had to run out. I had not organized everything. I had everything. And me trying to get it here to the radio room, I just messed up. But I will make sure that will not happen again, I promise you, because I will be back on again Thursday night teaching these teachings. I'm going to teach it at least twice a week. I don't care how I feel. I don't care what my voice resonates. We're going to learn this. But this is by Menachem Posner about the Jewish leap year. Where does the Torah, someone, when you hear this, look in scripture, in Torah, and see if you find those words. Look in your concordance, leap year. That is springing forth from what? Let me read what Mr. Posner said. Quote, the Jewish calendar normally consists of 12 lunar months. 2 years, the lunar cycle. The 3rd year, you have a lunar solar, that you call it. Go to your Torah and show me one time where the word lunar is in the book. Yahweh will not put us through something that difficult. He made it simple and plain. That even the man going his way, looking for the answer, a way, he's a man in the way, he's faring, he doesn't know where he's going. Yet these liars, these men that boast in the virileness of their knowledge, I boast, and I make my boast in Yahshua, because he dwells within me. Great is he that dwells here than me. I'm nothing. Listen quickly. The Jewish calendar normally consists of 12 lunar months. No, not normally. That is what it consists of. Excuse me, nation. That's what our calendar of the month and years consists of. Period. A lunar month from the moment when the crescent, the Chodesh, the crescent new moon appears until it disappears once again. That is, period. The completion of 1 month is roughly 29.5 days. 12 lunar months equals 354 days. I'm going to diagram things on Thursday. 354, that's all. It's going to be 354, 355, or 353. 11 days less than the solar year. So in order for them to catch up, they say, well, there's an 8 or 2. Then found in the body. You ever heard that one? I've been around for a long time. I've been around over 40-some years. That's where I've been around. So I didn't come into this walk yesterday. I didn't begin to preach in the name. I had no one to lecture me. I leave it in this book. An old brother at that time, I sat under him as his assistant. We had 3 assistants, but I was assistant number 1. He would always tell me, he would come to me, he said, brother, these men can't even touch your shoelaces. They cannot articulate, they cannot express things. And this was always my response. I would say to him, my friend, but these are also the elect of Yah, with this calling upon them. I never denigrated those men to him or no one. It's amazing because one went through a horrible experience with a wife. His wife was a whore. She did not attend service with us. I would have this man to come spend the night with us. He was in such pain and agony. I could be sitting there with my issue ready to romance and have a great time. He pulls up. He spends the night with us. I never did him wrong. Can I tell you what happened? He turned against me. And he would tell me these men do not have the aptitude. They don't even qualify like you. I never let that swell my head. What were we, a few people with nothing, jobs, barely making it, as the world would say? That's who we were. I will never denigrate a man, but I'm no coward. I will back down to no man unless he speaks a profound, honest truth to me. I will honor him with the greatest honor. But I will not be remiss to correct him if he's wrong from the book. Let me proceed. It says that quote, the lunar month from the moment when the crescent new moon appears until it disappears, once again, it is roughly 29.5 days. 12 lunar months equal 354 days. Excuse me. 11 days less than the solar year. Therefore, if we were to maintain, listen now, it is important to understand verbiage and how people write. Every word is right. But this is what? If we were to maintain a strictly, it is strictly. It is the command of Yah. You see that one word? It will make us dysfunctional. Well, I know what it said, but we don't have to do it that way all the time. That's how we reason within ourselves. A strictly 12 months. So when people read that, these are the words that they don't even understand the power and the meaning and the spirit of them. And they fall prey to that. 12 lunar month calendar, it doesn't, oh, well, I know that's what it said, but I remember when y'all began to deal with me in my ignorance. My mother said to me, because my whole life began to change. When y'all began to deal with me, I was a 17-year-old boy. I had an experience with Yah. I was 17 years old. My life began to transform. There was not a sense to participate in the things that I had done. And I'll never forget that day, because I would stay at home. I would read. I would study. I did not have the things that I have today to facilitate me. And my mother said this to me, I'll never forget. She said, boy, get out of this house and go have some fun. You can do that. You can love the Lord. You can love God. Just get on out of here. And my mother damn near destroyed me with those words. I went to the wildness of hell from that moment. My life in a cycle of darkness. My life went spiraling down a path. I will not even discuss it. I will not. Well, she opened the door because she was my mother. I had a perception of what I thought was love. When I opened that gate, my life went down into the deep of the darkness of hell. That was my mother. She had no knowledge. She was as ignorant as I was. Until that night, March the 11th, when I fell down on my face and I cried to Yah. Gotten out of the military during the time of the Vietnam War. And I cried. I said nothing to my wife. She saw the change. And these are her words. She said to me, baby, I see how you've changed. What you got, I want that. And that is how our lives evolved. He tells us, again, Mr. Posner, how many days and the results of this. He said this would result in the holidays which would constantly be fluctuating in relationship to the season, which are dedicated by the solar cycle. That's just a lie, Mr. Posner. They're dedicated by the lunar cycle. We would, look what he says now, look what Mr. Posner, I know you don't have this, but I will get this information to you. I will get all of this no later than tomorrow to be posted. He said we would have a summer Chanukah, a snowy, listen, Shavuot. Well, that's the way it should be. We should celebrate this in every cycle of time in the 33 years at the death. And through the process of that, we lived that many years. We can look back as the old, quote, as they would say, Negro spiritual, unquote. Look where he brought me from. 33 years ago, we come back to this place. We will sing the songs of great gladness. Therefore, the Torah commands us, guard the month of the spring. No, it tells us to to watch for the month. And when he brought them out, it was in Abib, time of plenty, the barley and all. That wasn't the sign of their liberation. It was the strong hand of Almighty Yah that delivered them. And so it is with us today. Therefore, the Torah commands us to guard the month of the spring. See how the words, see how they captivate us. We're very unlearned people, all of us, including me. And that's why we have to study hard and long. You go to Walmart and drop 3 hours in there for what, the same junk. Period. You know that's the truth. You can pull in a bundle of raggedy clothing at some hand-me-down stores. Nothing wrong with that because I used to shop there all the time. Nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to Yah, we have no energy for him. We may read 10 minutes and think we've done something. How are you going to challenge me? How are you going to take one verse and preach on that? 2 or 3 verses that have no association. Everything, if you examine this website, everything I say, I don't care what I preach on. You can give me one verse, I can have you a profound teaching. You can give me one word in the Torah. Every word of Yah is Kodesh. Every word is pure. It's Tahor. Therefore, the servants of Yah, we love it. Now we love Walmart better. Come on, nation. I'm too old for you to play tricks on me. Been around too long. Listen to this. Therefore the Torah commands us guard the month of the spring, and make then the Pesach offering. This, listen to this. I will get this up for you. There are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, that they all concur with the same thing. How can you say that, well, no, it's not that way? My uncle taught me, and my daddy, well, your daddy was wrong. Our forefathers in the 1890s, they didn't know. And they spread that lie through the generation of the household. They didn't know. They didn't have understanding of words. They were taught by the Caucasian. Well, his name. Well, there are those that know his name and all that. They have heard of it. They didn't know the power of it. You had those that were the Sephardic Jews there in Cuba and all in South America. You have the Ashkenazis, the ones that set the standard for everything, the white Jews. Period. We don't want to deal with the straight up truth. And our old great-great-grandfather, he was as ignorant, he barely could read or write. And that's why they were one-liners of preachers. Come on here, somebody read for me. They couldn't read, many of them. And that does not disqualify them. That we hear men teach things and they believed it. And for men to say, Yah talk to them, it's a lie. I challenge any man. I'm going to teach on that subject. What voice did you hear? Did it cause you to tremble? Get out of here. This is our ignorance. We've been taught that. Hallelujah. 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 This is what it says here. He talks about the Sanhedrins, directed of the Rabbinical Supreme Council, to constantly, this is what they do. It says, to constantly adjust the calendar to assure that Nisan, the month of the holiday of Passover, always fall during the spring. And that's what they have done. That's what you've done, my friend. And for you to say, watch the calendar, you are a liar. And that's what you say to me. You can tell others that are ignorant, but you're dealing with the bona fide giver. I am a warrior. I would die for this. I would die for this truth. I would die out to my ways. Period. Our great-great-grandfathers and our grandfathers and our fathers in the latter 1800s and the earlier, they didn't know a thing. Period. But Yah raised up those through their loins that the whole house will be. When a man is shown up, set apart, his whole house follows the order of Yah. We are a nation that the messenger, the one daughter is a hoe, the other one is a slut, one son is a faggot, the other one is a whoremonger. That's what we raise up. So we have not been the example or the pattern to anyone. Man holds the line with Yah, he will save his whole house. See, that's why he never gave me children. I have no sons and daughters, none out of wedlock or anything. I know my Ima Rafea. Her do I know. So the Rabbinical Council constantly adjusts the calendar to ensure that Nisan, the month holiday of Passover, always falls during the springtime. That's what you're doing, my friend. Springtime. 22, you kept it. Springtime, 23, you kept the screen down. But 24, you got to add a whole month. You got to compensate for the 14 days, so you add a whole month, my friend. You don't intercalate 11 days. The 2 years you lost 22 days. So you got to add another 33 days that you can begin your account. Challenge me. Make me a lawyer. Let Yah be the truth in everything I speak. Be raised up from the dungeon of hell. And may I be damned before Yah. Fact of the matter. He says this. Now this is accomplished through the 13th month leap year. You have a 13th month this year, my friends. You're afraid to challenge a man like me because you can't explain that. You have a 13th month this year. You have a 13th month this year for your feast days. We're going to get into why you do it like that. What is the reason behind it? Our great-great-grandfather didn't even know. They didn't know what the equinox and what that was. They didn't know those kinds of terminology. They had no understanding. This leap year, which was added to the calendar approximately once every 3 years. During these years, a second month of Adar was added to the calendar. I remember when I first heard that, I said, wow, 2 months? And then I closely began to examine these men. They would tell us that the barley was not found in the fields of the land we call that little slither of land, at one point 19 miles wide. That little piece of land. I'm not denouncing YisraYah'ale. How do you put 300, 400 million people in that little land? He gave us a land. Look, he identified the land from the great river of the Nile. That's a continent whereby you got a lot of folks that they ain't black as me, but they black. I like to think that I've bewitched my own mind to think I'm black. I like blackness. Ain't nothing like a rich black man, a beautiful daughter. Their skin is black. She's not ashamed of it. Skin robustly with that glistering of blackness. Black as they come. I would have loved that my skin was darker. That's why I love being in the sun, because in the summer, boy, it would get dark, dark, dark. I like that. And this is what we have fallen to. These are lies, my friend. You can say what you want to, but from last year, Pesach, to this year's Pesach, you will take 384 days. Is that a year? Which one is a year? 353? Lunar, or 354 is solar lunar? Which one? Which one? This is about the council in the hand of the Sanhedrin, the councils, and those that were full of their own lust and their own sin and their own wickedness. I say to any man, any group, challenge me. We can discuss this. Show me where I'm wrong, and I will repent today. But you got to prove it by the book. And these catchphrases, you got to show me them in the book. Little solar here. It's a lie. He gave us a calendar based upon the moon nation. While the Sanhedrins presided in Jerusalem, there was no set calendar. They would evaluate every year to determine whether it should be declared a leap year by the observation of the moon. And they will see, how do I facilitate this or qualify this, that it's in the month of Aviv. So we will have a second Adar. In order to get it back, that we will add a complete month. We will intercalate. Several factors were considered in the course of their deliberation. The primary factor which overrode all others was the spring Equinox. We saw this day whereby there was somewhat a balance of time. But there is no equal part in any day. The only place you're going to find close to a 12-hour day and night is around June, even in that piece of land over there. Around June 1st to the 11th or 15th, somewhere in that range. I know all of this because I've labored to understand this. The primary factor that overrules all others was the spring equinox. Well, what? When I was a kid growing up, we would see the beautiful dogwood trees because it was an insignia to us, and the smell, the fragrance, is Easter time. Bunny rabbits and eggs. Bunny rabbits and eggs. Easter's never held until after the vernal equinox. You're following the same prescription, a seduction. It is the same. It is the same. It's sad that we as Achim and we as men that labor, why don't we get together and reason? There are those that have turned against me, turned away from me, because they don't want to reason. They don't want to be proven wrong. Everything I do is wrong. Anytime I have the strength and the power to recognize me as the adjudicator, I'm wrong. I don't care what it is. Everything I do, when there's a personal identity with it, I'm wrong. I identify with the master above. Here. Oh, come on, this expanse. I'm here in the country. And the expanse of the heavens. I remember we moved here 28 years ago. Talk as they come, no one but my Isho and I. Were you intimidated? Well, yes, sir. I was used to living in Charlotte, North Carolina. You come out here in these woods, you don't know what. And so I had to show a sense of gravity, my wife and I. Hear noise like, whoa! You know what you were dealing with. Us down here, deep in the woods, it was not as populated as it is now. Nobody but us. Nobody. People walking on the land like, whoa, who are you, sir? Any man would have that trembling effect of fear. Because we think crazy like that. Someone coming to rob, to butcher, to try to apprehend, rape my wife. No, my friend. I don't want to say it like this, but we're going to die together then. Because you're not going to do that. And so there were fears and tremblings. There were doubts. But every day I began to gain strength. Walk out in the dark by myself. I wasn't used to that. We got brothers here that haunt. I would not walk down through those woods. You don't know what's down in there. Bobcat. We used to have bobcats here. Let me go on. The primary factor, listen to this, which overrode all others, overrode what Yah said, the moon, was the spring equinox. And the spring equinox will fall later than the first half of Nisan. In other words, on the 16th or latter. That's why most of the Jews, their Passover is in April. You that call yourself Hebrew Israelites is going to be this year in March, around the middle of March, 23rd, the latter part of this month. But it must be after the vernal equinox. I didn't bring do I have it when the equinox falls? I didn't bring that today. Hallelujah. This is what gives constitution. Y'all says the moon. Sir, ma'am, don't get upset with me. Just say that I'm unlearned. One said to me, oh, don't say you're ignorant, you're not. I am an ignorant man. I'm not offended at that. I don't say that with this adjudication of hyperbole that I think highly of myself is better, because if I did, I work just like any other Achim. I manage funds for this whole community. They have their funds, they manage their own funds. But as far as this community, it will never be lack of anything. It has never been that way. Because we care for each other. Everyone that has ever come here cared like that? No. It's a process of learning. A child cannot walk unless they're taught. Period. But I lived a life that no one, you're boasting that, I make my boast in him. He has kept me. You may allow me, but there is no accreditation. He has done this. He has touched women. He has slept with them. Found him in the woods. Nah, I know Imam Raphael, my beautiful daughter. I say to my young babies that she is a queen. They say, no, sir, Poppy. She's not a queen. Queens are mean and nasty. She's a princess. I'll buy that one. She's my princess. These queens are ugly. She's not that. She's pretty. She's beautiful. And by the way, she walks with a limp. She had her left leg fractured. We were in a wreck when we first really came here. I watched a daughter of Zion, even with the fractured tibia, get up, work. And this is a strong woman. She's a strong daughter of Zion. She makes my strength whole. She lifts me, but I'm weak. I've never heard her complain about anything. Never. She's a beautiful daughter. That's just a fact, and I'm glad that he gave her to an undeserving man. I'm glad. Can I proceed? Several factors were considered in the course of their deliberation. These are the factors in their deliberation. The primary factor which overrode all other was that the spring equinox. I'm going to put up all the dates for you all when we post all this, when the spring equinox fall. From 2019 until 2050. And examine that and see where the feast days fall. They always fall according Easter, the equinox, the spring equinox. Easter is what? The last part of this month. And most of the holidays after the vernal equinox is in this month. And there's some group, there is no consistency with anything. Isn't that amazing? You all call yourself Hebrew Israelites, got your own little splintered group and everything. Don't have a dime in your pocket because you're selfish. And yet Easter knows the pattern. Precise every year. They are precise. There is no distinction as in an argument as to when Easter is. They all know when it is. Whether it's the Roman Catholic, or either the Lutherans or the Baptists, all of them know when Easter is. And you got every date there is on the calendar. We the right one. You're wrong. You're wrong. All of you. It is the spring equinox. The spring equinox will fall no later than the first half of Nisan, i.e., in other words, the 16th or later. Then the year was automatically declared a leap year. Automatically. I got all those dates. We're going to post all this. We're going to get all this up. And there are millions of writings that will tell you what I'm saying. And authors of articles. How do you do that? That's not 13 months. I don't recall on the calendars of the world there's any year. I got to examine that again. I'm going to post that for you too. That shows the 13th month. The calendars in Turkish but I don't know of any. However, it wasn't enough for the Passover to fall after the vernal equinox when it was officially spring. Spring-like condition needed to be evident. It says, if in the land of Israel, the barley, they grow nothing in that land. It's crazy that this little land grows nothing. I have gone to the Department of Agriculture in Israel. Everything, I mean everything, barley, everything. As a matter of fact, they don't even use barley. Everything is imported. There's very little they produce. You see, that's why Yah gave us that land from the great river Nile. Can you imagine the riches of the fruitfulness of the Nile, the water, the grapes and everything, unto the great Euphrates? That'll hold about 1 billion plus people in his kingdom. And you're fighting for that little land over there? As it won't. Oh, it's a part of it. Because of that Nile. Listen and be honest, people. What do the people? You tell me that the nation of the people, when they were captured, many ran, just like they did when they got to America. They didn't know where they were going. And they escaped from that horrific capture of enslavement, brutalizing a people. I want to say this to you that identify with Caucasianists. Last Thursday, my issue and I going out, there's a podcast. Go on and listen. It is called Straight White American Jesus. And these are white men that podcast this. White people will say, well, you go back to where you're from. You dirty beasts. We were in captured slaves. We had no power. You know we're from somewhere. You say, y'all go back to Africa. Go back there. I'm saying this to mock that corrupt mentality. It exists today, and you're a fool if you think it doesn't. Let me ask you something, my friend. Is this your land? You butchered the Indians, your forefathers, and that same bitterness and rod of wickedness is in many of you. Where would you go back? You go back to your land. You go back to Britain and England. You go back. You go back. We don't want that kind of talk. And don't tell me. I grew up in a time where I've seen it. I've been in it. Caucasian could spit in your face. What you gonna do? He'll put you in jail. So don't tell me that, nation. I'm old enough to remember that there was an intimidation around Caucasians. Period. Can I go further? Boom, 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 boom. Bam! This is what he says here, Mr. Bosnia. In the land of YisraYah'ale, the barley had not yet ripened, and the trees were not yet blossoming, and the season of fruit, that too, was sufficient reason. Where's the Sindora to delay Nisan? By adding a second month of Adar, spring should be felt. It should be bright and green. Now, that's not what the book says. It should be identified by the moon. That's what it should be. You that are strangers, call friends and tell them, go listen to that insane messenger. He's real, though. You haven't heard one talk like me. Period. Are you making your boast? I make my boast in him. His story is alive in me because it reminds me of the pit of darkness he brought me out of. I believe what I'm saying. I don't have to rehearse things. I don't have to go and sit down for 2 hours just rehearse. I don't do that. I go to that book, and what I've been researching, I've known this, but I want to show you there's a preponderance of evidence. Everything I will teach us on these false, delusional lies of feast days, I'm going to do it until they began to celebrate it. And during the course of that, I'm going to rob them. I'm going down in the belly of this dark spirit. Why? Because it had me under that delusion of lies, period. It must be bright and it must be green. Mine. You know, that's amazing, because there are places it won't be green. It won't be bright. But his people are there. He scattered, puts, P-O-O-T-S, his people, into whole paths, all parts, in all the world, errands, in every far corner, far reaching. That's where his people is. And we will know them by the fruit that they bear. It's amazing, 2000, those that identify as Hebrew Israelites, they were calling those from the continent of Africa, you dirty, stinking Africans. Don't tell me that. No! I guarantee you there's not one of you all that had internet before I did. I got it when it first came out. I could research things. Back in those days, you could not examine you could examine the University of Harvard, the law schools and all for nothing. You can't do that now. You could go to the well-prestigious universities. I did that. You can go in chat rooms whereby there was a reason of some sense. You go in there today, I wouldn't waste my time. It's folly. 1982, I was one of the first persons in Charlotte that had internet. So don't tell me, my friends. And then I said, oh, I don't have to go to the library. Had to catch the bus and all of that. I could sit at home. Oh, it was all landline back then. They didn't, all the satellites and all that. Cell phones, we didn't have that. Cell phones with a big old box you had to carry. Suitcase. I came from that dispensation. Before then, 70s, 60s. So you cannot inform me on things that you haven't lived. All right? There's also several non-season related factors which the Sanhedrins, those that were the sage or the council of the very wise men, that's who the Sanhedrins were, considered. For example, where does this say this in Torah? If the roads or bridges were in disrepair due to the winter rainy season, impeding the ability of the pilgrimage or the pilgrims to travel to Jerusalem for Passover. I said to one, the Zechariah, that they had not kept Pesach for so long. And the person says to me, because the Kohen were not ready. But that was the reason, because if you look that word up long time, I will teach on that. They had not been in Yah's house. They had forgotten the procedures and all. And so they kept it in the next month. They sent out a cry unto the people. That's why, my friend, it was they had not kept it for a long time. So the Kohen were not ready for that challenge and to take upon that responsibility. Every one of y'all's people, we don't examine anything. And we just talk from what we've heard from our ancestors. Our ancestors did not have the educational skill set like I do. Did not have the material, a vast trove of every kind of information, document, encyclopedia, all of that nation. From some of the most prestigious examiners of what is predicated upon history and truth. We have that. And we don't know how to use it. We play games and all that. I'm not going to lie to you. There's only one game I've played, one, really honest. And when it comes to, I used to play chess all the time. Go online and find someone there. Back then it was elementary-like. It was not as, the Magnum Carlsons and all of that. You go online, you could play. And I would play all the time. I'm not going to lie to you. I had the little computer program, and I would beat that thing. I played chess because I like chess. I don't play it no more. Listen to this. The rainy season, YisraYah'ale for Passover. It says in the 4th century CE, before the common era, it talks about the sage. Listen, we've been talking about him. Hillel foresaw the disbanding of the Sanhedrins and understood that we would no longer be able to follow the Sanhedrin-based calendar. This is what Hillel thought. Now, this is not going to equate to what is necessary. So Hillel and the Rabbinical Council established the perpetual calendar. That's why it's mathematical, my friend. It has nothing to do with the moon. You're a deceived liar, and you're deceiving the people. Sit down with me. Let's prove all things. Let's reason together. These men are cowardly. The Hebrew Israelites are not going to explain this to you, my friends. Tell them to draw it up and show you. You think they're going to do that because they know you're ignorant. You Jews, Caucasians, they know you're ignorant and unlearned. They're not going to explain it. Well, it's just for the council to know these things. No, it's for me to know as well as you. And so you're not going to find these men explaining that to you. Many of them don't even put up their feast days but unto those that they invite. And they are so ignorant, when they add that month this year, they're so ignorant they don't know what to ask. I began to ask questions. When I began to count, I said, oh my, something is wrong. And the only reason I then began in those years back, quite a few years, I knew that people would turn against me. I knew they would. Oh, you're the only man that's been turned against? No, that's why I treat men fairly with honesty and righteousness. So YisraYah'ale and his rabbinical council established the perpetual calendar, which is followed today. So you can say what you want to. It's nothing about the moons, my friend. It's nothing about the sighting of the moon. He said we follow it today. The calendar is comprised of 19-year cycle. Each of those cycles continue 7 years. This calendar will remain in effect until YHWH will come and reestablish the Sanhedrin. He's going to reestablish that trash. Stop that. And we are the gatekeepers of lies. We perpetuate that. Nowhere. Yah's calendar is based upon the perpetual sign of the moon. It never changes. It goes through a cycle, and it brings us to the appointed time. It will never change. And then he says, this is the Rabbi Menachem Pazna. Wishes you a happy and healthy kosher Passover. Yours truly, Rabbi Menachem Pazna. These are the men that guide us in the path of lies. The Torah, quote, for your purpose, the Biblos, the Bible, it teaches us the way that is sound and pure. I'm going to hold up on the SHABBAT because I need to take you to that site established by the Lubavitch, the Jews, and they have their own laws and their own commands. Nation, don't be beguiled. He gave us that thing we call the Chodash, that little slither that faces the west. Sometimes she's laying down, sometimes she's bold. I've seen it in every position. That little slither. As we will sing in the days, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, yeah. This little light of mine, that light belongs to Yah. I'm gonna let it shine, yeah. This little light, oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. I will let the light of his truth shine. I'm going to stop there for the evening. We're going to get all this posted. There are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. There's a robust evidence. The way you have been taught is wrong. I was taught the same way. Didn't even understand. Didn't even know what the 19-year cycle. That's one of the first things I began to look up. 19-year cycle. I began to look at those things. And then I discovered the Greek scientist Metan, or the Metanech. The proper emphasis is the Metanech. 19-year cycle. They established that. He studied with observation of the moon for 19 years. And then some years ago I discovered another form that the Jews are really reneging from the Metanech, because this one is more precise. I got it all, because I study these things. I got hundreds, thousands of pages that I copy and paste, that I know what I'm saying. You don't have to like me or love me. You don't have to agree with me, but we better agree with this book that we call the Biblos. He gave us one sign. That is the moon. It is called the Chodash. But the moon is called the Yarech. Yarech. But he calls that renewed one Chodash. Chodash. The slither. That little light shining. That is the birth of light, isn't it? That little slither brings us light. And that is the birth of life. The blessings of Yah rest upon you all. The nation of YisraYah'ale. We send his hallelujah. Yah Barak, his Shalom to you all. His Shalom. We welcome you tonight. You're going to either love me or you're going to hate me. There is no in-between grounds with me. Because I will tell you the truth. And above all, I want you to examine this. I want to post this. I'll tell you what you do. Go on the web and type in Hillel, Hilliel, calendar, Jewish calendar, and see the pages and see what you get when you do that. And the people of my hill, you follow the same prescription. You can say what you want to. Well, my mama told me your mama was wrong. Well, my great-great-granddaddy taught us your great-great-granddaddy was wrong. He couldn't read well. He had to learn by hearing. And they know Yah talking to him. The munna comes, it enters through hearing. And hearing, it produces, you must be able to hear, and then you began to produce a living substance of the witness of YHWH within you. The only way you can hear by the word. Now no voice. Now no voice. Nobody's talking to you but your own crazy mind. When I was in those I haven't been in many churches. As a matter of fact, two, that's it. And they were all saying, oh, God said to me. I've always said, I said to my Isha, as you had to take care of little affairs today, I said, you know, Ima, I've never said that. I always said that the word spoke to my heart. When I examined it, I began to understand. You hearing your crazy voice? You hearing your silly mind? In the world, they would take you to a psychiatrist. You crazy man. I'm hearing voices from, quote, God. The world says that. I hear the word speak with volume. And it is interpreted by Haruach. The mind that says to Yah, I'm a wretched thing. I'm a wretched thing undone. Deliver me. Help me, Yah. I'm an ignorant smart. Like that's offensive. I am ignorant in so many facets of life. It's pathetic. In this book, I don't want to ever become high-minded, full of pride. That I know every little gist of this book. That's why we gather in fellowship. Men preach things. Whoa, brother. My, never heard it like that. We don't know how to elevate and esteem others. We should highly esteem those men that labor among us and bring out the richness of this truth. We don't know how to do that. We become jealous because of our juvenile nature. I'm jealous of no man. I love to see a man excel in this book. I don't care what it is. The world shows you that. They will cheer basketball, football player. No, they can't do it, want their autograph and everything. But we are such a juvenile people. We want to dismantle the true men of Yah, and we lift up those that are juvenile-ish and immature. We don't want to bless the true messenger. You will know the matters of the true messenger when he digs down into the rut of your corrupt ways. Why? Because by that word, he examined his own heart. We don't want men like that. It's so sad. May the riches of Yah rest upon you, my friends, the nation. I'll be back on this Thursday again. We're going to teach on this until they began to celebrate their feast days, especially what they call Pesach, Passover. And I'm going to do all I can to dismantle their lies, because these are lies of corruption. No, Yah did not tell you that. Explain to us. And there are millions of pages that will show you this. You cannot find that preponderance of evidence. These all cannot be speaking like this unless there's a historical evidence of this. May the riches of Yah rest upon you all. I say to you all, Yah Baruch. Shalom, shalom, YisraYah'ale. Thursday of this week. Yah Baruch, shalom.